In this video, I want to discuss rolling over your 401k while you're still employed. First and most importantly, why would somebody want to do that? Why is that advantageous? What are some of the common mistakes that individuals make when trying to look at this option? And then just looking at the 30,000-foot view of saying, what does a 401k plan do? And then when you do the rollover and you're placing it into an IRA as an example, why might that be, very beneficial with, based on what your goals are, based on your time horizon from now until your retirement years, and how you could essentially blend different strategies together that you would not be eligible for if you left your money in the old 401k account or in that current 401k account while you're still employed. So on the left-hand side, I'm going to discuss the differences on the growth strategy and income strategy. If let's say somebody wants to create a type of death benefit related strategy as a leaving like a legacy with this sort of account, and then why that blended strategy might make the most mathematical sense. So from a growth strategy, we understand that if somebody's placing monies into a 401k account, they're working for an employer. They're making contributions into the plan. The employer might be giving a match into that plan. So you have that contribution side is more set up for, it's more customized for how much somebody's placing in there and what that match is. And then the opposite side of the coin is the rate of return. So by all these years of, let's say somebody's age 30 and they've been placing their monies into their 401k account until age 65, we know the combination of the contributions that's being placed into this bucket and the rate of return is what's going to determine how much that this account grows. So an individual understands that as long as they're placing percentage of their salary into this account, that's obviously going to add to the positives of the contribution side. The match is going to add positives to the contribution side. This is ultimately what you could control. The opposite side of the coin, which is typically overlooked, is the rate of return side. And this is where when somebody's in a 401k account, they typically have limited funds in their funding options available or investment options available. So think of this as eggs in your basket. So on average, you might have anywhere between 15 to 25 different eggs in your basket or choices to say, okay, I'm controlling the contribution side. The company's giving me a match, so that's my incentive to place monies into this 401k. But this rate of return, there's only so much juice that I could squeeze out of my investment choice. And I'm referring to when I say juice that you could squeeze is rate of return. If you have only 15 to 25 options available and they're expensive options or they're limited options, meaning if let's say you want to diversify out your portfolio better and you want to cherry pick what's the highest quality at the cheapest price, well, you can only choose those 15 to 25 options available. So this is where when somebody is eligible for a 401k rollover as they're still working for their employer. And the reason why I say that is when somebody stops working for their employer, they're eligible to take their 401k and roll it over into an IRA. But if let's say they're not looking to retire for another 5, 6, 10 years, whatever that case is, there might be other qualifications that an employer would allow an employee to say you could take a portion or all of your 401k monies and roll that over into an IRA during this X amount of time frame, during these next 30 days or during these next 60 days. So if you ever receive that statement, does it make sense to take the monies and roll it over into that IRA account, and what does that look like? For each little mechanism or each little goal that you're trying to accomplish, does it make more sense to leave it with that 401k or to take the monies, roll it over into an IRA so that you can have better customization? So this screen shows us what an IRA account looks like and how an IRA account grows. And it's almost identical to a 401k. The only difference is how the contributions work. So when somebody takes their 401k monies or some other type of qualified retirement account monies, places it into this IRA account, well, the contributions that's being set up in there is the rollover monies, the dollars that came. So if somebody had $500,000 in an old 401k and they rolled that over into an IRA, well, the starting account balance would be sitting at $500,000 with this IRA. That was added as a type of contribution, or conceptually think of it as a contribution, and it went from like to like terms, a qualified to qualified related account. So now this is the new account balance sitting in the IRA. And just like the 401k, that's only one side of the coin. The other side is the rate of return. What determines this rate of return being positive or negative is based on the performance that those different investments or those different funds or how you customize this IRA, how that's set up. So instead of the limited 15 to 25 different eggs in your basket that we mentioned with the 401k, with an IRA, you can now customize it out better. If you're looking primarily as a growth strategy and you say, hey, I like the concept of leveraging investments, leveraging the stock market, leveraging bond markets, leveraging low-cost ETFs, having high quality, low cost, you have over 5,000 options available with an IRA, with a customizable IRA. So really an IRA that could be spliced up into a few different subsets of an IRA to make sure that you're accomplishing your needs. So in that example, on why somebody would do this rollover while they're still employed would be for a growth strategy. How can I grow my monies the best possible way, the most effective and the most efficient way? So I'm avoiding costs, I'm avoiding pressure against this account, but I'm able to accentuate the growth as much as possible so we could specialize this with a specific goal. Maybe that might be a time horizon as well, that you have a certain time horizon that, okay, you want to be very aggressive with this IRA that's set up for growth, maybe for the first 5 years, and then tone down that aggression and go into something that's more of a type of safe accumulation related account with either an insurance company or a bank to make sure that you're preventing downward market losses with that sort of growth strategy. So it's decreasing, it's making your growth strategy more conservative rather than leveraging investments 100% of the time. So there's a whole slew of customization that you could do that you're not eligible for when you leave your money in your 401k. So that's really the first concept. If somebody says, hey, I want to try to grow my money as best as possible, I received this notice from my employer, I'm 40 years old, I'm not going to retire for another 25 years, or I'm 60 years old, I'm not going to retire for another 5 years, whatever that case might be, does it make sense to take my 401k monies as I'm still working for this employer, because they're giving me this qualification, they're making me eligible to take the monies and roll it out. Does it make sense to do so? And then that's where we're going to the drawing board and saying, okay, well, let's see what your goals are. Let's see what your time horizon is. Is it most effective to just stay in that 401k or leave the monies in the different funding options available through the 401k? Or does it make sense to roll it over into a customized IRA to have a better growth related strategy? The next goal that somebody could correlate it to is an income-related strategy. This is where I say on a lot of my videos, I say the three things scenario. There's three things that every individual needs to figure out before they're retired, if they're currently retired, how to stay retired forever. So with that concept, what does a typical retirement strategy look like, or what does a retirement situation look like? What happens is somebody's working for their employer, they're working for X amount of years. When they hit their ideal retirement age, we're just going to say age 65 as an example, they may be eligible for certain cash flow related benefits. So at this age 65, one type of cash flow that's common with majority of individuals is Social Security income. So let's say based on this person's expenses, it all goes by your income has to be greater than or equal to your expenses. They're at retirement. Because if it's not greater than or equal to your expenses, then you're going to have to dip into your remaining assets, such as your 401k, such as IRAs that you've accumulated, such as cash accounts, whatever that case might be, or have a significant decrease in your living standard to make sure that your income could be greater than or equal to those expenses. So what's their ways on how you can leverage that existing 401k as you're still working and make sure that you're creating some sort of income strategy so that you're maximizing out this income, you're at least having a type of safety net there that you're not eligible to do with a 401k. So what I mean by that is at age 65, an individual might be receiving Social Security income of, let's say, $30,000. Maybe they're receiving pension income from their employer of another $30,000. But after doing their cost analysis, their expense analysis, we understand that this individual at age 65 might need $70,000 of income to live off of till the day that they pass away. Well, 30,000 and 30,000 only equals 60,000. They have a gap of $10,000 in this example. So how can we complete this gap? Using the smallest amount of dollars and only as much as necessary when you're eligible to roll over this 401k, and you can go and place that into a type of account. Typically, this is where an annuity account would come in and make sure that it's going to supplement that additional income need to suffice that $10,000 that this individual is looking for. So in that example, we'll go back to the $500,000 example. Let's say if this individual is currently age 60, wants to retire at age 65, we understand their Social Security income is going to generate $30,000. Their pension income is going to generate $30,000, but their expenses are $70,000. We know that the gap is $10,000, but this person has $500,000 that they currently have in their 401k account. If the company says, okay, well, you're eligible, even though you're still working for us, because you hit an age-based in-service withdrawal eligibility, you could go take your monies, take your full 401k monies or a portion of your 401k monies and roll that out into an IRA. That might be one qualification. Another qualification might be that the custodian has changed. So let's say if Fidelity was the custodian that was managing the 401k account or that held the 401k account, and now they changed over to Vanguard as an example. When that change takes place, the employer might say, okay, to all our employees, doesn't matter what age you are, because we're changing the custodian, you're eligible, within these next 30 to 60 days, you're eligible to take your current 401k balance and roll that over into an IRA. So in this example, let's just say that the reason why an individual could still be working for their employer for these next 5 years, but they're eligible as an age-based in-service withdrawal. In this example, out of the 500,000, maybe they go and they roll it over into an IRA that's just sitting, in a regular cash position, whatever that is, and they take all the monies, they place it into that IRA. So from there, they could go and splice this IRA into a couple different areas. Out of the 500,000, maybe it's only going to require 150,000 to get placed in with IRA number 1, which is set up with an annuity account that will produce the $10,000 of cash flow at age 65. So they're age 60 right now. They took the full 500,000, threw it into an IRA, and then you took the IRA and you transferred it into another IRA, IRA number 1, which is generating that cash flow. What's the remaining dollars left over? Now we have 350,000 remaining that now maybe you could leverage this for a related growth strategy. Or maybe out of this 350,000, you want to use 50,000 and just kind of keep it aside as an emergency related play. So this is what the emergency related play, just keeping it in a type of money market cash position, might be sitting at IRA number 2, while IRA number 3 is going to be set up with a growth strategy with different investments and different accumulation strategies for IRA number 3 for 300,000. So what did we do over there? We took a 401k account that had limited investment options. We rolled over the full amount and we spliced that into 3 separate IRAs. One IRA that's set up for max income, using the smallest dollars only as much as necessary. IRA number 2, which is set up for a max emergency related strategy, 50,000 going to a money market account. And then IRA number 3 could be a combination of better growth related investment funds based on that person's risk tolerance of a combination of stocks, bonds, no load mutual funds, ETFs, low cost ETFs, high quality, low cost, to make sure that this is accentuated as high as possible. Now be mindful in that example, they're not losing eligibility to their 401k because this person in that example is only age 60. They still have another 5 years left of working. So they could still be adding contributions to their 401k account, still be getting the match from their 401k account, still be leveraging the different investment options in their 401k for these next 5 years. And now they could stack up that account that's sitting in the 401k after that rollover took place. So like as an example, from day one, their 401k might have been sitting at 500,000. After they did the rollover, their 401k is sitting at a $0 balance, and now their IRA or multiple IRAs are sitting at a total account balance of 500,000. So that's what happened by day 2. And the 401k is sitting at $0, but now this person's still working. If let's say, they're making $100,000 a year, they're putting away $5,000 per year, get 5% of their monies of their salary, and they're getting a 5% match, $5,000. That's still $10,000 that's being set up of contributions for their 401k for these next 5 years, which that's an extra $50,000 of just contributions, let alone whatever that account grows, moving forward for those next 5 years. So that when this person retires, they could go and take the 401k at that point and then roll it over again into another customized IRA or just add it to the IRAs that they've already created previously when they were age 60. So what sounds like a lot of moving parts mathematically could put somebody in a much better position than just saying, it's easy for me to keep my monies in a 401k account and not do anything about this. By making these slight tweaks, it gives you so much more flexibility, so much more power than if you did not make that move, if you basically just stayed put. So that's why that's the power, that's the benefit of doing the rollover into a customized IRA. Many times from an income play, you'll have a married couple, so you'll have husband and wife. Now, there's certain IRAs that you could customize to make sure that you have joint spousal benefits, joint income, that an individual, that as long as the spouse is the 100% primary beneficiary, they could, and the IRA is in one spouse's name, the surviving spouse could have that joint life income stream on it. So similar to like when somebody's choosing a pension option, they say, okay, I could either choose a single life option or I could choose a joint life option. The joint life option is going to be less cash flow, but it's going to cover two lives as opposed to the single life option. This is the same sort of thing with the IRA. The only difference is with an IRA, you could customize that a little bit better. Like if you're placing it into a hybrid annuity, as an example, with an income rider, that could still leave a death benefit of, let's say, one spouse passes away, the second spouse passes away. Typically with a pension plan, all that income stops. If you have it set up in a customized IRA with an income rider, you could have a lump sum death benefit that will still get left over to your beneficiaries. So this death benefit mechanism that I mentioned in the income side, that could be either for a spouse death benefit, meaning that income could continue, be a lump sum to a spouse, or just lump sum to your children, to a charity, whatever your wishes are. But it just allows you to have that better flexibility in there. And be mindful that the example that I use was more for somebody that's nearing their retirement stage. If you're eligible to roll over 401k while you're still working, let's say you're in your 30s or in your 40s, and you have a sizable amount in there, it's just all about the math and science involved. It's saying, okay, well, with my current 401k, I have those 15 to 25 different eggs in my basket to choose. If I'm eligible to roll over, why wouldn't I roll over? If I still have a growth-related strategy, I want to try to grow my monies as much as possible, or invest it my own way in the latest fad, or an individual stock, or something that you just don't have access to with the limited 401k options. That's the customization. That's the benefits of using the IRA. So it's not just, this video isn't just geared for the individuals that's nearing up for retirement. Yes, there's a lot of really neat mechanisms and neat strategies you could do, but really any age that you're eligible for this 401k in-service rollover, typically it makes sense to take advantage of it, because if you're trying to set up a proper growth strategy, or your proper growth goal, you could do that more effectively, or you could typically do it more effectively when it's set up in an IRA. Same thing with an income plan. If let's say somebody's in their 40s and they understand, okay, I have a long time horizon, I still have these 20, 25 years, I could go leverage these dollars, place it into something that could give me a lifetime income mechanism, because I'm not eligible, I'm not offered a pension through work, so how could I create that type of personal pension, cash flow related strategy, because of the monies that I've saved from my 401k, to do it into a customized IRA. So there's a lot of different stages, a lot of different steps you could do. The legacy death benefit, if let's say you have a 401k account that just keeps growing, and you want to try to leverage this not at all towards an income play, or not at all towards a growth related play, but just something that you want to leave as a type of tax-free inheritance, or a type of death benefit that's maximized. There's different ways, different mechanisms, different IRA accounts that you could establish for that legacy, for that death benefit related need. At the end of the day, what we typically see is it's not just a jack of all trades type account, or a jack of all trades type strategy, but it's blending different strategies together and making sure that's serving an overall purpose. So what I mean by that is, an income related strategy could be leveraged properly through the best income related accounts, just like a growth related strategy could be leveraged properly through the best growth related accounts. Too often we see investment advisors that an individual goes, says, hey, I have this 401k money, I want to go roll it over to an IRA. They go, they build it into a couple different investments, they tack on a management fee on it, and an individual's paying about 1% to 2% of a fee on top of their sub-account, or their expense ratios within the funds that advisor put them into. That's just a portfolio. That's not a plan. The reason why individuals come to us throughout the country is because we establish plans. We create something known, we have a patented process known as the retirement diet plan, which we look at all those different areas to make sure we're not just saying, okay, go place your money into this portfolio, set and forget it, call it a day. It's saying, okay, well, let's look underneath the hood. Distribution strategy, which one, can you utilize your 401k monies, your current 401k monies, and roll that over into a customized IRA? Can you utilize old monies? Can you utilize, brokerage accounts, whatever that is? Make sure that your distribution strategy is being, created most effectively. Same thing with your investment and your growth related strategy. How does that work? Your estate legacy related strategy, estate, death benefit related plan, and then most importantly, the tax planning. One of the things I didn't even mention is you could do something known as Roth conversions within when you take the monies from the 401k, you could place it into an IRA and then do IRA to Roth IRA conversions to make sure that when this income is coming to you, it's coming to you tax-free, or maybe if you're leaving a death benefit, that's going to loved ones tax-free, or your growth, your ancillary accounts are growing on the most tax-efficient basis. So there's a whole multitude of different things, but really the takeaway is don't just have a portfolio, make sure that you're getting set up with a plan. The common mistakes that I see when somebody is eligible for a 401k rollover to an IRA is they're fixated that they're going to be losing some sort of benefit from the 401k. And that's not the case. So you're not losing a match. Your account value is starting at $0. Your account value has nothing to do with the match that you're receiving from your employer. So that match is just whatever you're contributing, they're going to be matching you based on that individual contribution each time, not on your overall account balance. So be mindful of that, that misconception that does not pertain to when you roll the monies out of the 401k into the IRA while you're still employed. Also, taking a withdrawal instead of a rollover. Many times individuals will go and they'll say, okay, I'm eligible to take these monies out. I'm just going to go and dump it into my checking, my savings account because, the IRS is so nice, the company is so nice. And if, let's say somebody has $500,000 that's sitting into their account and maybe they're 52 years old and they made this mistake and they just dumped it into their checking and savings account, they could get dinged with full taxation. They could also have a withholding of 20%, a mandatory withholding of 20%. They could also get dinged with a 10% penalty because they pulled those dollars out before they were age 59 and a half or age 55 based on what that criteria is. So make sure that you're not taking a withdrawal. What you're doing is you're doing a rollover. So even if the paperwork says in-service withdrawal, make sure that it's being transferred from that qualified retirement account to that qualified IRA account or whatever that case might be. Really, the context of the current market environment that we're seeing right now, and why these videos are very important to try to educate you guys, is to see how things were, what's changed, and why is it important now. Things used to be very simple in the past. You used to be able to work for a company, and I use the example of my grandfather was an elevator mechanic for the city of New York. He used to be able to work. He worked for X amount of years. He knew that as long as he was loyal to the employer, which was the city, they were taking care of him on the back end with something known as a pension plan. So when he retired, he had the combination of his pension income and his Social Security income that was more than what him and my grandmother needed for their retirement expenses. So he was able to live out those days knowing that he didn't have to worry about the stock market and all the bullshit that's going on. Unfortunately, things have changed. Not only are companies not offering the pension plans anymore, or really limited, about 10 to 20% of employers still actually offer a pension plan, about 80% do not. Now they're saying, well, rather than us taking on that risk, rather than us, the employer, taking on that risk, we're going to create these defined contribution plans known as a 401k account, and you're going to create this. So you're going to contribute to this plan. We might give you a match, but you're going to have to be the investment guru. You're going to have to, invest your own plan and hope that you have a large enough bucket by the time you retire to not exhaust that bucket the longer and longer that you live. So that's obviously a problem. Also, the stock market was bullish from 1980 through 2000. Since that point, you had a couple of hiccups in the market. You had the tech bubble bursting. You had the housing market crisis. The Great Recession. You had obviously the COVID pandemic. You have this constant volatility that's happening with interest rate environment, with inflation going through the roof. So rather than just say, yep, place it in the market, set it and forget it, and hope everything works out, it's important to have a strategy in place. You could no longer just leverage fixed accounts and bank CDs and fixed annuities that say, yep, we're going to pay you 10, 12% of an interest rate, so go and place $1 million over here and you'll be able to get $100,000 of cash flow, no problem, with just interest. That has now completely changed. It's the complete opposite. Now those interest rates are paying 1, 2% if you're lucky. So that's where it's being calculated. It's not just having a portfolio, it's creating a plan. If you found value in this video, if you have any questions, any specific questions where you want us to look at your situation and see if maybe the retirement diet plan might be a fit, feel free to give our 1-800 number a call. It's 1-800-566-1002. We give us a call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Schedule an appointment with a specialist. Just reference this video. And even if, let's say, you're just reviewing this videos for entertainment, for education, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Retire Sharp, so you have access to the most updated videos and really try to, set yourself up correctly if you like to, essentially do these plans yourself and just kind of want to know the different mechanisms, in place. But thank you very much for watching this video. Feel free to subscribe, leave a comment, leave any questions, and we'll be sure to respond the best that we can. Thank you so much.